I'm pleased to be joined by the leader of Surrey County Council, Tim Oliver. We're going to hear from him in a moment, but first, let's bring in our political reporter here for BBC Radio Surrey. Jack Fean is standing by. And Jack, for those who don't know, what is the County Council and what does it do?
Well, James, it's the most significant council that Surrey has, essentially, and it does a whole range of different things, different services. Most importantly, probably adult social care and other social care, looks after vulnerable children, but also provides services like special educational needs. It looks after many of the schools in Surrey. I mean, in terms of people living their daily lives, a lot of people will know them because they're the people who are in charge of fixing the roads. So when you see a pothole on the road, that's something that Surrey County Council takes care of. They also issue permits for the roadworks that we see. They're also in charge of libraries and just a whole range of different services that we experience in our day-to-day lives. That is what Surrey County Council is responsible for dealing with.
Right, but the council and most of the others in Surrey, they're not going to be here for much longer. So what is happening with that?
Yeah, so this is the big change, because along with Surrey County Council, we also have 11 borough and district councils which also provide different services. So they provide things like, well, the key ones are collecting bins from people outside people's homes, but also planning applications for new developments. And if you want to do an extension on your property, that would go to your borough or district council. And what the government thinks is that this system that we have at the moment is very, very complicated, and that people don't know where to go to when they want to make a complaint or they want to find out about a service. So they're saying that they're suggesting or proposing that there should be a major change to how Surrey operates, so that in the future, though that county council, those boroughs and districts, they will be gone, and instead we will have these new unitary authorities which will kind of combine what the other councils used to do and provide those. And then there will also eventually be some kind of elected mayor for Surrey who will make like more strategic decisions about transport and things like that. So that's the way it will work in Surrey in future, probably. In the meantime, obviously those other councils are here, but of course the question now is what happens, what does this look like, and that there's a big row over that. So Surrey County Council has put forward a proposal to the government to have 2 of these unitary authorities, one in the east and one in the west. And then we also have the boroughs and districts who actually say that's not the right idea. We should go for 3 because it would be much more local, it would be much more connected to the community. So there's a big disagreement about what that should look like going forward.
Well, let's bring in Tim Oliver, the Conservative leader of the County Council. Tim, lovely to see you. Good morning.
Good morning, James.
So there we go, a big disagreement. You've had a few of those over the years, I imagine. Let's talk about this devolution thing. You want 2 unitary councils. Can you explain why?
Yes, just to put this into context, as Jack said, this is a government-led initiative. They have indicated they want to have mayors across the whole of the country by 2029. And in the case of Surrey, that means that we have to have two unitary authorities, or minimum of 2 unitary authorities. But they do want to see, so they have said to all 21 areas that have got the 2-tier, as we have, that they will go and therefore get on and look at reorganisation. At the end of the day, this is whatever we do, whatever way the government goes, this has to be what is in the best interest of our residents in Surrey. And all of the data that we have looked at, all of the evidence that we've analysed in terms of the services that the county council delivers, suggests the safest way to split up the county, and it's splitting up our services, is in 2 unitaries. Some of the district and boroughs have put forward. There's been 3 different proposals around 3 unitaries. But at the end of the day, those 3 unitaries will be more expensive to deliver. But at the end of the day, the key point for me around is the localism. And 2 unitaries will be 600,000 each. 3 unitaries will be 400,000. Neither of those models are local, and we will hopefully just touch on community boards and town and parish councils as part of the overall proposal. as we go.
Lots of people have been getting in contact with us, as you can imagine, and where should we start with? Are you able to ask Tim Oliver, who's this from? This is from Liz. Are you able to ask him, why is it that when 8 of the 11 councils in Surrey have stated a preferred option of a 3-way split, you've actually proposed a 2-way split?
Well, it's to say, not all of the other councils are agreed on what the 3-way split would look like. Reigate and Banstead want to go with Crawley. Originally, Surrey Heath wanted to go with Spelthorne, Runnymede and Elmbridge and so on. But you know, that isn't about what the politicians want at the end of the day. This has to be the decision has to be based on the evidence. And, you know, the government will have both options to look at, you know, and they will determine which is the most sensible, hopefully, for our residents.
Let's have a listen to what people in Farnham have said. We've been asking them about the changes to council. Have a listen to this.
I did hear about it briefly, yes. Yeah, not sure of the details. Well, it seems to be working okay at the moment, doesn't it? To be honest with you, I'm just bored by it, really am, yeah.
I don't really have any major thoughts here and there. It is what it is, really. I'm just letting it do its own thing.
I hate to say it, I really haven't looked into the issue strongly enough. I think it's a bit of a big authority.
It depends on how the county is split up.
I suppose it is the how. Just listening to those voices, does that seem pretty a typical response? Most people don't really know what's going on.
Well, I think a lot of people are confused as to what council does what. You know, at the end of the day, for the majority of people, for the county services, they don't see the county services. 70-80% of what we do is around supporting vulnerable adults and children and so on. Unless you've got a family member accessing those sorts of services, you wouldn't know. What they do see are highways. So I think from a resident's perspective, what the unitaries will do is provide stronger, simpler, and I hope more cost-effective, more efficient councils, and that's what residents want to see. And I think who delivers that is largely, you know, is not really the key thing for them. It's making sure they're getting the best value of best services they can possibly get.
We've had this criticism from some other parties that we've been hearing about this morning on the breakfast programme. They've written to the local government minister saying the plan for 2 new unitary authorities is based on, quote, inconsistent, incomplete and flawed data. Are they right about that?
No, they're not right about that. And indeed, I addressed those comments at full council last week. There's a misunderstanding in terms of how council tax works and council tax bands work. So, you know, at the end of the day, the plans have been drawn up with officers. You know, that is their day job. So I think, I'm afraid, they've just got themselves confused.
Probably a one-word answer to this. John in Hawley message, can you ask Tim Oliver, if the local authority projected changes once finalised will be put to a public vote, and if not, why not?
So the government will consult with residents and partners, and that consultation, I understand, will be launched in June. So we'll certainly be publicising how members of the public can actually engage with us.
And Lucy in Red Hill. Morning, James. Please, can you ask Tim Oliver the following? Whilst I can see the efficiencies will be made from reducing the number of councils, what will happen to services that are currently managed county-wide? Adult social care, the fire service, will these need duplicate or triplicate senior managers, and how will the funding be split?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I mean, the fire service will actually ultimately be passed to the mayor, so that will be dealt with on a county-wide level, as will the police. Adult social care and children's services, at the moment, the expectation is it will be split up, and that's why I'm saying actually dividing that into 3 rather than 2 is riskier. It'll be more cost. And so on. So there isn't a plan. There are, in some parts of the country, councils have created sort of children's trusts and so on to deliver those services on a wider geography, but those haven't really worked. So this you know, the conversation we're having now is absolutely about how those services can be safely split across the county.
We've heard a lot of argument that it's a shame that all the councils couldn't have come up with one plan to send the government. And does that put you in a weaker position, possibly? Do you think that they might end up deciding something themselves which no one wants?
Well, I hope not. I mean, I agree. I would have hoped that we could have come up with a single plan. This has actually been non-party political. The two councils that have signed up to the county proposal, with Mole Valley, which is Liberal Democrat controlled, and Elmbridge, which is a coalition of Residents Association and Liberal Democrats as well. So this isn't a party political thing, and it shouldn't be. Local government should not be about party politics. It absolutely should be about the residents. So I'm sorry that we've got now three different proposals by the look of it. We will engage with the government over the coming weeks, and I hope that the evidence, as I say, will lead to the right decision.
We should talk about these community boards that Navi mentioned. That the Lib Dems are saying that they'll have no powers, no legal standing, and will just be talking shops, and that they won't be as influential as parish or town councils. What do you make of that?
Well, it's that's how you set them up, isn't it? I mean, if you give them powers, and responsibilities and money, then they will be effective, and that's absolutely key that happens. I think this conversation is at the moment focused entirely on local government services. What is as important now is how we bring in the health system locally and the community safety, the police, and so on. We as a country, as a system, really need to focus on prevention, investment in providing early support so that people don't fall into sort of chronic conditions. So this is an opportunity to build these boards locally around a town that people relate to, around Woking, where you live, and to have in that conversation the health system, police, and so on, and those agencies that can really impact on people's lives and localities.
We've got to talk about this idea of Reigate and Banstead and Crawley joining forces in one authority. Has that plan been taken in any way seriously? Or?
Well, it came out of the left field. It was raised very early on in the conversations, and then it went very quiet. I think all the other 11 councils were very surprised to see that a submission was put in. I mean, we haven't inputted into that, certainly from a county perspective. We haven't said what that would mean for our services. And as you've seen, I think other district councils have opposed it as well.
I want to talk about debt. You just mentioned Woking, where I live, which is a place whenever I tell people where I'm from, they go, oh, that's the one which has gone bust. Well, obviously it can't, but it pretty much has otherwise. Councils across Surrey owe debts of more than £5 billion, largest one being Woking, which pretty much went all but bankrupt. In the last week, we've also seen the government send in these so-called commissioners into Spelthorne because of their finances. This has got to be surely one of the biggest obstacles to overcome.
Well, so I would make the point there is some debt is good debt. So where that money has been spent on refurbishing libraries, building children's homes, facilities to enable people to live independently, that's good debt. The debt that we're talking about here, though, is debt related to commercial investment. We have got an active conversation with the government, all councils, around the Woking debt. There's a recognition by government that the residents of Woking cannot and should not pick up the responsibility for that debt. So an agreement will be reached, and our request is, and our request will always be that debt is written off. Spelthorne, is not in quite the same position as Woking, that they haven't got a crystallised debt as such. But I think the way in which we have approached this, and I believe the way in which the government will approach it, is effectively to ring fence the debt out of the conversation in terms of reorganisation, so it won't drive how this county is split up.
Yeah, because one of the worries, and I've had it myself, I'm paying a council tax in Woking, is that, we're going to have possibly 2 unitary, possibly 3, but one of them will be saddled with a lot more debt than the others, and that'll be a huge obstacle to get over.
Well, and one of the reasons that I don't support the 3 unitary option is that actually then the 3rd unitary proposed by the district and boroughs, it will be Runnymede, Spelthorne and Elmbridge. Which, so 2 of the other, Runnymede also potentially has debt issues. I'm very clear. I was the leader of Elmbridge at the time when other councils were pursuing what was ultimately a reckless strategy around commercial investment. We didn't in Elmbridge. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm not going to ask my residents in my ward, my division, or indeed any resident in Surrey to pick up the debt of those councils. So the government will have to step in and they will have to write it off.
When you chat to government on this, do you think they know what they're doing about it, really?
Well, I think they understand the issue, and we have actually now got the Treasury officials engaged as well as the local government department. So that's a very positive sign, because at the end of the day, this is about money rather than, I think, any point of principle. So I'm hopeful that those conversations will continue to get us to a good result.
Well, I'm going to ask possibly the most selfish question I'm going to ask today. Is my council tax likely to go up in Woking? Because I'm already paying a huge chunk of change there now.
Well, there's no reason why the reorganisation should increase your council tax. In the short term, there will be a cost to reorganising, but ultimately, on our analysis, there will be tens of millions of savings when the reorganisation has completed. The bit that concerns me, though, outside of reorganisation, is that the government are carrying out a funding review, which looks at the moment as if perhaps areas like Surrey that have a high council tax, as we raise a lot of money, that we will see a reduction in our government grants. So there'll be a greater dependency on council tax to fund the services. That's something that we're lobbying very heavily on, because it's not right that the taxpayers in Surrey should be, quite frankly, sending that money to other parts of the country.
But that is something, even when we had a Conservative government, you were lobbying for that, and you didn't even get that when the Tories
well,
went there.
we didn't get many grants, but what the last government didn't do was cut the grants that we do get. I mean, Surrey County Council's budget is 1.2 billion. 120 million of that is government grants, and that's the risk that this government says actually you can afford to pay for those services yourself locally, and you'll get less than the 120 million.
Tim, we're going to talk more. You're going to be pleased than potholes on the way. Yeah, they are. We can't talk to you without talking about potholes. Tim Oliver is the leader of Surrey County Council. Potholes being one of them. What do you say to people about the potholes?
Well, just sort of put this into context, I absolutely recognise what people say. I drive around this county a lot, but so there's 3,000 miles of road in Surrey. And we get, so for the funding that we get from government and from council tax has to be used first of all to deliver our statutory duties around social care and so on. There are three issues that are pertinent to potholes. One is the weather. And at the end of the day, freezing rain, breaks up the road. The second is the funding. We're putting in 300 million to improve roads, but it's nowhere near enough. And there's across the country is 17 billion it would take to resurface all the roads, and the government are putting in 1.6 billion, so that doesn't even touch the size. But ultimately, the real issue is around utility companies, and we have 88 interventions from utility companies every single day in this county. And that is where you see all these temporary traffic lights going up. A road resurface has a 30-year lifespan. The first time you dig into it, you halve the lifespan. And of course, I'm afraid that the repairs that the utility companies do are small patches. That's where the rain gets underneath, freezes and so on. So, we are putting in as much money as we possibly can. We've resurfaced 100 miles of roads over the last few months, and we'll continue to do that. And actually now there's something called Fix My Streets. If you put the details in to that website around the pothole, it will be repaired now within between 2 and 3 days. So we're potholes, they are reducing in number, but I'm afraid until we've got greater powers to stop the utility companies coming onto our roads and declaring an emergency and digging them up, we're always going to have this problem.
What power would you like to have over the utility companies then?
So we've lobbied government for forever, actually, and this government has now agreed to set up a working group which Surrey County Council will be included in, and it will be to say to the utility company, first of all, spend more money on maintenance, so you're not constantly having to dig the thing up. But actually, what we want to do is to contain the amount of time that they're on the site. So often they'll get a 5-day permit. The lights will go up. The next day, somebody will come and dig a hole. The next day, somebody will come and so on and so on. So we want to reduce the amount of time they're allowed to do that, and we want to fine them heavily if they overrun and if they don't repair the damage that they've done to the road properly.
Okay, that's a big ambition, isn't it?
It is. It's needed.
Let's talk about the people we spoke to there, talked about education. One person said education. Well, one of the big challenges is the situation with special educational needs. The 6 new Lib Dem MPs have criticised the service as failing, and we regularly hear from parents who tell us how hard it is for them. What's been done?
Yeah, so it's a national challenge around the number of children now with additional needs has increased exponentially over them, particularly post-COVID with mental health issues. We have 15,000 children in this county that have an education health care plan. I absolutely understand as a parent that parents want the best for their children. Not often or on occasion, the professionals that we use to advise don't necessarily agree with that parent. So that there are times when we can't actually give the parent what they've asked for. But at the end of the day, there are parents that do struggle with the system, and I absolutely appreciate that, and we are absolutely trying to do our best. Again, we need more money, we need more educational psychologists, we need more speech therapists and so on to actually deliver some of what people actually need.
We've had a call. Amy has been through to us a short while ago. Her son's in year 6, has no school place in her local mainstream secondary school. He's been assessed to see if he does have special educational needs. And this is one of the big challenges, isn't it? We hear from parents waiting for that assessment. Yeah,
so I mean, we have 20 weeks to assess a child, and we're now sort of 75%, broadly 75% of those assessments are carried out within that statutory time limit. But again, there is a shortage of educational psychologists who we rely upon to do the assessments. We put in an extra 15 million to actually speed up the whole process. It is and has got a lot better, but it is still challenging in terms of getting through those assessments.
Talking about children's services, the department has now got a good rating from Ofsted, and I suppose that this is an example where you've had to really concentrate and throw some money behind it. It's been a long journey. 10 years ago, Surrey was inadequate. Then it's taken a long time to get things properly sorted. Meanwhile, we've got the case of Sarah Sharif, the 10-year-old from Woking, who was murdered after years of abuse. Can you see why people might be a bit sceptical about how well that service is doing?
Well, I think if you read the Ofsted report, you will see the improvement that has happened over the last 6 years in particular, and that's, including COVID. The world has changed quite noticeably post-COVID, and the demand for the services has. But, we got a good rating in all categories by Ofsted. It's a very, very robust inspection process, and in terms of children being safe in this county, the Ofsted were very comfortable that the vast majority of children here are safe. So it's always very challenging, isn't it, to protect every single person. But at the end of the day, the team have demonstrated that they fully those improvements, and indeed now I think we do have a very robust and safe system here.
Tim, personally, do you feel a huge amount of responsibility when you hear those stories?
Yeah, absolutely, I do. I mean, I have personal experiences of accessing those services, and I absolutely do feel personally responsible. That is why, when I became leader of this council and I got elected to address inequalities of opportunity, inequalities of life expectancy, access to health, and so on, with an absolute ambition that this council does not leave anybody behind. And over the last 6 years, we have seen those services improve to good, and we have seen adult social care services improve to good. And every day I go in, and I push officers, to make sure that we are absolutely doing our best.
I want to know your legacy, because you're the leader who moved the council out of offices of Kingston and into the county. You're also going to be the last leader of Surrey County Council as it stands. But what do you want your legacy to be? And also, how long is this whole process are you expecting to be in your role?
Well, all 12 councils will be abolished in 2 years' time. So, at the end of the day, I restand next week as the leader of the council. If I'm re-elected, I will continue to do this role until May 2027. I think my legacy, my ambition was to improve the services that the county deliver, and I believe that we have done that across the board. It's always going to be challenging. It's never going to be perfect. But at the end of the day, we've got the finances have been transformed. We're now in a pretty robust position. Our core services have improved. We've invested tens of millions in community projects, around the county. And as I say, we're now back in the county finally, Swebby. So I'm proud of what has been achieved by this council, and I hope that whatever replaces it will continue with those same ambitions.
And will this be the end of your political career? Have you got any thoughts on what you might do next? When it's all over.
Well, all political careers end in failure, so we'll see. I don't know. I mean, I've always had significant involvement in charities as well as local government. It is a full-time job for me, has been for some years. But I will continue to do what I can on a personal level to support those causes that I truly believe in.
One thing that some people listening might not know is that your daughter Emily died of a rare brain tumour a few years ago, and I wonder how that has shaped how you have sort of run things maybe at Surrey.
It's had a huge impact. Yes, Emily died nearly 6 years ago now. And I've said before on this show that we struggled. My wife was a GP. I was the leader of the council. We struggled to access some of the services, which is why I absolutely understand what parents are saying around accessing what we do. It has shaped me because I understand what it's like to have a child with a disability, and it's just made me that ambition to make sure that no one is left behind has been a real personal driver for me since I've been the leader of the council.
Tim, lovely to see you. Thanks for being in the hot seat. What else are you doing today? Just what's on the agenda, out of interest?
What am I doing today? I've got various teams meetings. We're talking about the budget for next year, and all the usual day-to-day stuff for council. So, yeah,
another busy one.
Indeed.
Appreciate you coming in, Tim Oliver. Thank you. It's BBC.